Greetings, listeners. Welcome to Panel Pals, the comic book podcast for thinkers. We're your hosts, Jack Stewardson
and Diane Hitchings.
Diane, I've got two, admittedly, they will be old news items once this is uploaded, but I have two news items at the top of the show.
Excellent.
One's good news and one's bad news. Which one would you like to hear first?
Let's start with the good news. Start us off on a good foot.
Good foot. Okay. This was reported March 25th, 2025.
2026?
Sorry, 2026. Oh my God.
I was like, wow, you're right. This is an old news thing.
No. Yeah, 2026. Tech company OpenAI announces Sora short film / image generator officially closing after making $1 billion Disney deal. How do we feel about that?
Sick. Die and never be remembered. Get wrecked, losers.
That's exactly, I wrote down, I call that a good start.
Yeah, you know what? I heard about that and I was like, this is a good start. This is a good start. Let's keep going in this. I'm sure. Well, I don't want to be pessimistic. I don't want to be like, this doesn't mean anything. More AI companies will just make worse shit. But like, good that it died. Suffer, see you never.
If we are to live in a world where capital rules all, the right lesson should be, we don't want this. This is not profitable, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we should learn from this. And now the rest of it can go away.
Yeah. And if we want to live in a world where like anybody has any semblance of respect for art or artists or just general humanity or just like general existence, we should be like, yeah, get rid of this. Go away forever.
That is the ideal. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Okay. Well, on a downer note.
What's the bad news?
This was reported March 15th, 2026. Comics cartoonist creator and cartoon creator Sam Kieth passes away at age 63 from complications from Lewy body dementia. Are you familiar with Sam Kieth at all, Diane?
Not especially.
Okay, maybe you might recognize some of these. He's the creator of one of my favorite comics and comic adaptations, The Max, who I did a presentation on back in class when we were at Langara.
Yep.
He's also the least problematic Sandman co-creator.
Amazing. Is that a high bar or a low bar?
I don't know. I like Sam Kieth a lot. I like his art.
Good for him. Yeah.
Good for him. Yeah. I hope he got lots of residuals off that show and all the printings of Sandman that they made. Because he was an interesting guy. He had an interesting style. I recommend people look up, obviously, The Max. But also, he did some Alien comics. He did a book called Alien Earth War. He draws the xenomorph perfectly in like a very unique way. And he did a run on Marvel Comics Presents. It was like a Wolverine story that I also recommend. Special interest to friend of the show, your sister. He also worked on 3 issues of adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters back in the 80s.
My sister loves that. She loves that. I think she has like a volume or 2. I'll have to go see if that's some of his. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So hunt down in the boxes for some Sam Kieth if you get an opportunity. He's a cool guy.
Amazing.
On that note, on something completely different, are you ready to talk about Mary Tyler Moorehawk?
You bet I am.
Any opening remarks you would like to make? Any questions, comments, concerns?
This is an interesting one, I guess. I have thoughts, but like, let's do your intro first. Okay. Let's see what you have to say.
We'll see what I have to say. I wrote a beefy one. I apologize.
Excellent. No, I'm excited.
Village Green Preservation Society. If you've ever taken an intermediate literature class in your life, or find yourself on Comics Blue Sky as often as I do, there's a good chance you've heard of the death of the author. Originally conceived by French literary critic Roland Barthes in his 1967 essay of the same name, its meaning has ironically been appropriated, debated, and misconstrued since its publication. In the essay, Barthes suggests that literature is a living document long after its creator has ceased creating it. Most people interpret that message to mean that the thesis or meaning of a piece of text is up to interpretation, and that one doesn't have to adhere to the opinions of the writer. This is, of course, an oversimplification. For one thing, it ignores Barthes' further declaration that the act of deciphering or finding some hidden meaning within a work is actually counterintuitive to literary analysis. Secondly, Barthes admits that through the consumption of writing, the audience themselves invents the author in the text, as if the work and the author are constructed at the same time through the act of reading, or watching, or listening, etc. Moreover, when analyzing or reviewing literature, one must be open to any number of not just interpretations, but its contexts in and outside of the time of its production. As Barthes states, the text is a tissue of citations, resulting from the thousand of sources of culture. In other words, neither authors nor critics create the meaning of a written work. A work's value is only found through the act of reading and the embracing of what's being read at any and all times. This may sound completely counterintuitive to the entire Panel Pals enterprise, but please allow me to try to apply Barthes to both of our subjects today. While Barthes is more concerned about an author through their work rather than from anecdotes or interviews, it's nonetheless a good habit to understand the context which makes the work possible. While Dave Gibbons' opinions of what Watchmen is about are aloof at best, Moore has had plenty of opportunity to engage with the conversation of his own work. In a 1987 panel moderated by Neil Gaiman for the Comics Journal, speaking on the book's political ethos, Moore says, "Watchmen is aimed at an American audience, and the intention was to try and make people feel a little bit uneasy about America. That is to say, Moore's intentions with Watchmen were to upend the common Cape Comics consumers' expectations of American superheroes, decent, patriotic, and stalwart. It's why, as Moore explains, the book takes place in its own alternate timeline rather than the regular DC continuity or our own world. Technology and culture are shifted to purposefully perplex the reader, and while in that space also allows the reader to interrogate their own status quo." It's also worth noting, in the same panel, Moore refutes the idea that Watchmen is about interrogating fascist tendencies of the superhero genre, something that critics and Moore himself would contradict as time has gone on. Moore's opinions on superheroes may have more to do with his own dissatisfaction with the commercial realities of mainstream Cape Comics, having had the rights to his Watchmen creations be held by DC indefinitely, though this is admittedly a bit of armchair psychology, not very Barthes of me. So if even Moore disagrees with himself about his own work, why should we consider what he thinks of Watchmen? For one thing, so much of the act of writing is in Watchmen, it's hard to ignore the author's hand. Rorschach's inner monologue is told not through thought bubbles, but via captions representing the writings in his personal journals. Each of the issues features in-universe back matter prose or similar text pieces, excerpts from Hollis Mason's memoir, internal memos from Veidt, police and psychiatric reports from Walter Kovac's arrest, newspaper articles, etc. Beginning in its 5th chapter, the main narrative is occasionally interrupted by the Tales of the Black Freighter, a comic within the comic, whose story detailing a shipwrecked man succumbing to violent madness parallels the apocalyptic anxieties of the main plot. The popularity and prominence of pirate comics in the fictional world of Watchmen illustrates how the presence of real-world superheroes shifts the culture, a subtle but important bit of universe building. The writer of the Black Freighter, interstitials, and a Moore stand-in, Max Shea, is later revealed to have plot significance, having disappeared after being part of the team assembled by Ozymandias to conceive of the alien invaders in the book's climax. In cases such as this, the death of the author is tricky to navigate, when the book and the author converge, and especially when they are literally killed off. See also the Last Children of Watchmen subject, Crossover. Most importantly is Watchmen's co-action between storytelling and memory. Every character has something to say about their past lives, often with mixed emotions, bittersweet sentimentality reeking from its pages. Laurie and Sally Juspecic's fraught relationship to each other and to Edward Blake, Dr. Manhattan's growing dispassion, Rorschach's mental break, even Hollis Mason's codgerly recollections of his adventures, which he regales Dan with, all told in anecdotes or flashbacks in equal measure, all examples of Moore and Gibbons using storytelling and memory as character and universe-building tools. Nostalgia is neither used for verisimilitude nor for cheap emotional engagement. It just plainly is, same as in the real world. Despite Moore's misgivings for the term graphic novel, Watchmen strongly evokes novelesque storytelling mechanics through its use of memories and the past. I argue the same case can be made of our main subject today. At first glance, Dave Baker's Mary Tyler Moorehawk shares little in common with Watchmen. Baker's vibrant neon pink tones and art object aesthetic don't exactly jive with the standard comic format of Gibbons and DC. However, actually engaging with the text reveals a similar authorial intent. Mary Tyler Moorehawk follows the titular young hero and her numerous allies engaging in a final struggle against a horde of entropic enemies. Or rather, it follows a fictional Dave Baker, a pop culture archivist/journalist from a far dystopian future, and his efforts to find and chronicle the creator of Mary Tyler Moorehawk. Dave Baker. Baker, the author, is no stranger to Watchmen. In 2017, he and Nicole Gu organized and participated in a formalist deconstruction of the work, Shitty Watchmen, in which Moore and Gibbons' masterpiece is retold in rough, minimalist thumbnail sketches. The duo would follow Shitty Watchmen with a spiritual sequel, 2018's Shitty Dark Knight. Baker has continued to work in the lowercase I indie comics scene with a series of small press comics and zines such as Halloween Boy and Night Hunters, as well as some writing gigs for a handful of Star Trek and Godzilla tie-in comics. His position in the industry awarded him the opportunity to publish a book with Top Shelf that, in his words, he could put anything he wants in a comic. Ironically, Baker was afforded as much freedom as an independent as Moore and Gibbons had as all-stars at DC when developing Watchmen. Like Watchmen, Mary Tyler Moorehawk is a comic about writing, fandom, and criticism. Just as Watchmen is a critique or response to the Charlton Comics characters acquired by DC, see our episode on Peter Can and Thunderbolt, Baker, both fictional and real, is interrogating his love of mid-20th century mass media, like Johnny Quest and Japanese tokusatsu. Its use of the character as author's stand-in is far more obvious than Watchmen, but both works use their avatars in a similar fashion and to address similar subjects. Mary Tyler Moorehawk contains a story within a story framing, a la The Black Freighter, and Watchmen's back matter, though it becomes a question of which parts of the book are the main plot, the text pieces centering on fictional Dave, or the sequentials regarding the Moorehawks. Like Watchmen, Mary Tyler Moorehawk has an ambiguous and paradoxical ending, though one tinged with the hope for the future. While today Moore cynically derides superhero fiction as childish fascism, the fictional Dave Baker holds kitsch as high art. Where Moore deconstructs, Baker apotheosizes. Mary Tyler Moorehawk's final messages, in both the comic and the prose portions, are ones of hope and conservation of pop culture, specifically through the act of recognition of the original author. Like Moore and Gibbons, Baker spends most of his work building out his universe, Sis, through deliberately dense, read, overwritten, character and faux historical descriptions. Once delved into, it becomes apparent that Baker is having an improvisational conversation with Moore on the subject of pop literature, the comics craft, and creators' rights, equal parts yes and, as well as no but. If you take into account his reading, it may appear as though the death of the author need not apply. However, it should be noted that for one, this is an observation made by me, not directly addressed by either writer, and for another, I had only come to this conclusion after having read all three texts mentioned. I must confess, while I had planned for Mary Tyler Moorehawk to appear in this subseries from the beginning, I had never actually read it in full until right before the writing of this introduction. Its superficial similarities to Watchmen, its use of text back matter, the story within a story framing, the adherence to the 9-panel grid, all intrigued me, but having actually read the piece, the connections between both works have only gotten stronger, especially in conjunction with Bart's and the death of the author. All three works require you to actually read them to understand them. They all function as hypertext, ones whose messages can't be gleaned from YouTube recaps or wiki entries. They serve as wider cultural consciousness and demand that you, the reader, interrogate and apply what you know about literature, history, and the world around you to them through the act of reading. While Moore indirectly and Baker directly appear in their respective works, they perfectly exemplify the death of the author, both literally and figuratively in their works, because they demand to be read. How do you feel about the death of the author? Does the prose and overwriting in Mary Tyler Moorehawk actually serve its function in narrative building, or is it pretentious? How do we feel about Baker's poptimism? Is nostalgia a good thing? We are the Village Green Preservation Society. God save Donald Duck, vaudeville, and variety. Ray Davies. Diane, what did you think about Mary Tyler Moorehawk?
I have thoughts. So when I started reading this, I got 4 pages in and I'm like, I'm gonna struggle so much to read this. I was like, oh man.
Yes!
Because here's the thing. There's been a bunch of the comics that you've brought that I've read the whole thing in one sitting. The first setting of this, I literally read 4 pages and I was like, I'm going to go do something else. I don't...
Does it hurt your eyes to read?
The comic portion?
Yeah, dude. Sometimes my eyes got a little fuzzy looking at some of this line art.
The thing is, when you put that much text into your comics, guess what? I don't even see the pictures. But whatever. Yeah. No, so I was like, here's my experience reading this. I'm like, oh, cool. So I open it, and then I get to the first-ish page or whatever. It talks about a tulpa, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thing to talk about. I've heard about tulpas, cool. And then I get into the introduction, and I read the introduction, and I'm like, I think I hate this man. And then I get to the comic portion, and I'm like, I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, for the listener, in the introduction, so each of the text portions and the comics have, what do you call them, anecdotes? No, what do you call them at the bottom of the page?
Like the footnotes?
Footnotes, thank you, sorry, brain. And on the first page of the introduction, a third of the page is footnote.
Question, did you read all the footnotes?
Absolutely, I did. I read all of it.
Does it add to your reading experience?
100%. You need to read the footnotes to understand what is going on in this book.
Like, okay, here's what I'll say about this book. In context, like without context, whatever, theoretically, I like the idea of this. In practice, I started this hating it and I ended it with like somewhat ambivalence. So like, I don't know. Because like in theory, it's a great, okay, so like if there's somebody who has like nothing to do and like so much free time, this would be great. Because like you could read it so slowly and you could take your time and you could really like reread it and find all the little nitpicky things and it would be great. I don't have that kind of free time. I saw the footnotes and I was like, cool, you know what? When I write essays, guess what? You know what the footnotes are? The footnotes are my references, and nobody reads them. I'm not reading all of those. I read some of them, but I saw on the first page, there is a footnote that is literally like 1/5 of the page is just one footnote. And it's just describing the golden age of comics. Or I assume it is. I read the first line of it because I was like, I am not reading that big of a paragraph of a footnote on the first page of a comic. I'm reading a comic book, right? And don't get me wrong, I like reading normal books. I like reading novels. I came here to read a comic.
Yeah, that kind of leads into the question of form about this. Mm-hmm. At least half of it is prose and or like poetry or essays, and the other half is comics. Does this even count as a comic book?
You know, I was thinking about that today when I was biking home from work. And yes, of course this is a comic book. Of course this is a comic. I'm extremely broad with what I think would count as a comic book. I know some people are not. And they're like, oh, it has to have words and pictures in each panel, each page. No. You could have a wordless comic book. There's a lot of comics that have too many words on a page, but I'm not going to be out there telling people that's not a comic. This is still... Well, I'd put this into graphic novel. It's a hardcover. It's a graphic novel.
Yeah. This is truly a graphic novel in the literal description of those terms.
Oh, this is what I thought. This is what art school would have wished someone would do as a comic book project if they were ever to do a comic book project in an intermediate class. And as in... When I took intermediate classes at my university, that was pretty old-fashioned in the way that it did fine arts. They would have probably loved this and thought it was like sick and awesome and a multimedia project that deserves accolades. And that kind of pisses me off.
That's
Because
so funny. Like, so it's a mix of. Sorry, my introduction largely ignores another part of this, which is there is sort of mixed media zine and photography bits inside of it, which are sort of up to interpretation, but I think they're meant to describe sort of the weird dystopia of the fictional Dave Baker's world.
Yeah. A lot of the photography is like has retro vibes to it. It's a mix of showing scenes that are very cluttered, like a thrift store kind of thing, specifically not like a fancy thrift store, but like Salvation Army or less fancy kind of vibes. And then it's got like color grading to make it look old, which, you know, works for the people reading this because we're reading it in the present. I think at one point in time in one of the essay things, it says that it's at least past 2150 year-wise. So like the photographs in this would be like ancient, but like whatever, it's hard to, you couldn't put futuristic pictures in this to try to evoke a sense of the past, even though that would technically make more sense in canon and for the world. But like, whatever, no, that's not, whatever. They don't have to do that. That would be stupid. That wouldn't give the vibe that they're going for. But yeah, artsy photographs, a lot of stuff that reminds me of design classes. Lots of words, lots of paragraphs.
But, like, done through graphic design. Like, it
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like a magazine.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like, that's the main thing. Until it doesn't anymore all of a sudden.
Yeah, and you know what? That's probably the part of the writing I like the best, when it decides to not force me to read an artsy magazine. I don't like reading magazines. I like reading novels. I like reading comics. I don't like magazines. What? What was that noise?
That's my... Oh, that kind of actually surprises me. That's kind of disappointing almost.
What, you think I like magazines?
Yeah, why not? They're like, it is like graphic design. It is almost like a comic book in that you're merging pictorial and written work, prose.
So, like,
well, not prose.
I can like the aesthetic of magazines and think it looks cool, but I don't want to read what's in a magazine. Does that make sense?
You don't like academic journals? What? You don't like academic journals?
No. And, like, look, I grew up with, like, reading a lot of, like having a lot of magazines around. Some of which, you know, like, Reader's Digest existed. I don't think nothing about Reader's Digest is interesting to me. Hilariously, at my grandparents' house, there was always, like, religious magazine that came out, like, every 2 months or something. That was hilarious. Insane to read articles in that are just so weird. But anyways.
Dude, those you get truly a mix of, like, some of the most unhinged writing ever and, like, actually thoughtful. Like, you never know what you're gonna get. And I'm sure my church has a newsletter, but I think they also used to put out a magazine like that, like a little leaflet, not very big.
Oh no, this was like the Graham, like with Billy Graham or whatever. Do you know the big
No, is it on like glossy paper?
Oh,
is
it's
it like nice looking?
It's like a real legit thing it's like from the US, and you get a subscription and you get like 12 or so volumes or like of it a year, and it's from like a big corporation, like big church. Like, these are people who also make, like, they have like TV stations and stuff. Anyways, totally unrelated. Yeah. But anyways, a lot of magazines do aesthetically look great. But if I want to read something, why am I going to read like a 400 or 500 word essay that some random person wrote and then put in here? And it's like, I didn't choose to read this. No, thank you. Anyways, this might also just be like the vague PTSD of reading having a bunch of like those magazines growing up for girls that are like, here's how you get a boyfriend. You should shave your legs.
Oh, like... What were those? Teen?
Yeah, teen, like 17 or whatever. Yeah, or like whatever.
Yeah, 17. That's it.
Those things. Those things are always
so funny.
Patronizing. But anyways, what the heck was I talking about before I got there? Yeah, so at the end, like the last 2 chapters, I guess, of the writing, when it kind of becomes like an actual story instead of somebody trying to make me care about a magazine, that I actually like. Because, like, it's got relatively good writing style in this portion. Yes, it's a hilarious waste of paper to have one word on an entire page, but I like it. I like the use of space like that. I like it. I like the end.
Yeah. It's also formatted. It is like shape poetry. I forget what that's called, but they form shapes. They tell the story through where the words are positioned on the page.
And that I like. I like the end of the written portion, when it stops being a magazine and starts being a guy actually telling a story. That's nice. I like that. What do you think about the non-comic portions of this?
Dude, I love it. This is so ballsy to do in a comic.
Do you like it in concept, or did you like actually reading it?
I mean, it was a challenge to read. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, sometimes that's good. That's like lifting weights with your brain. It's like a good thing. I fear that Dave Baker is literally me. He's the Ryan Gosling meme. I fear somehow I've incepted his brain, or he has incepted his brain, because he's writing exactly about all the things I'm interested in, and exactly how I would write about the things I'm interested in.
It's so funny.
Which might be a bad thing, and we can get into that also.
I'd love to hear more.
But no, I love this book. I love its form. I love that, like, it's nice hardbound. It's got nice uncoated, kind of a toothier, heavier paper.
Yeah, it's a new book. I think it's from 2024. Yeah. But like, the pages have like fake wear to it. Like if you open up the comic pages, like the inside area, like by the spine is like yellowed.
Yes, and there's foxing and occasionally paper tears, which I kind of wish the paper was actually torn. They kind of just have it on white page underneath the tears.
Yeah.
But I get that production-wise, that's probably good. That would jack this book up to like hundreds of dollars.
That'd be so annoying to print and stuff. You just hire a person to take every copy and just rip a little bit of it.
Rip exactly where
Come on,
you need it to.
If he was a true artist, he would have gone to every copy of the book and he would have done the rips himself.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Do you remember Spiderwick? Those novels for kids in like the early 2000s? They had like sheared edges in their printing. I wonder how they got away with that.
Like,
those were like nice production too. Those were on
how sheared were they? Because I don't really remember that very much. Like they actually had like rips, or was it just like
no, not necessarily rips, but every page had like rough edges.
Yeah, I think my copies of the Series of Unfortunate Events were like that.
Did they do that too? Okay,
yeah, so I think it's like I think that shouldn't be too hard, I guess. It made for like thumbing through the pages really weird because like they're all like slightly different lengths. Yeah. But it was like cool aesthetic. So like fan of that.
Yeah, man. I love this.
So you
I love how it feels.
you really like this one. Like it's all good.
I really like this one. I think this is one of the smartest comics to have come out this decade.
This is one of the comics that pissed me off the most. Like I said, I like the theory, like the concept of it is cool. Yeah, you have prose interspersed with comic pages and photography. I like mixed media and multimedia projects in concept. There's not always done well. Like, look, they're not always done right, in my opinion, in the way that I like to enjoy art. They don't always vibe with me. I like the idea of like, if you read the entire thing and then you go back and read the introduction, you hate it a lot less, fun fact, because that's what I did. I read the whole thing and I went to the back and then started reading again, to the front, started reading again. I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, then it like fully clicks. Cause like you read I read the introduction way before I read the rest of it because I put it down. And then I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. I'm not angry at this person anymore for reading his introduction. So like that, like it's cool. It's a cool story. Like you could read, this would have so much rereadability to it. I think so.
And by the way, that's a totally valid way to read any book. You don't have to read the introduction of anything. Mm-hmm. I've read tons of novels where I completely skip the introduction because I just want to get into the meat of it.
And like in theory, I like the idea of a comic that is like monochromatic like this, and it just uses a color and black and white. But I struggle because I'm like, in practice, I like none of these things in this book itself. In theory, this way of art works and it's something I like, but in practice, it's a slog to read. In theory, having prose interspersed is cool, but in this one, it's just a slog to read. Yeah.
There's a lot of words. There was I think it was a Cracked video back in the day where they're discussing. Cracked is like bad. It's like shitty Mad Magazine, but they've had a web channel for a long time where they put out content, and they used to have sort of a scripted roundtable discussion on different media where they had, again, very anti-death of the author, where they would just analyze works and add their own fan theories to films. And in one of them, they describe one of the characters, who's a real guy, Michael Swaim, describes how he hates graphic novels because he feels like he got tricked into thinking that graphic novels wouldn't have words in them. And it turns out there's lots of words in them. And I fear I've done this to you, Diane.
No, what you did is you were like, hey, you know, like the worst parts of Watchmen? Well, what if there was more of that?
Oh no! You don't like the pirates?
No, I didn't even say that. So you think the pirates are the worst part? No, I was saying the written stuff between the chapters.
Oh, you don't like the interstitial stuff either. Oh.
Hey, I never said I hate the pirate stuff. I do. I don't like the pirate stuff, but I never said I did.
Those are the two things that most people criticize about Watchmen, is when it's over. If they describe it as overdense, they talk about the pirate stuff, not understanding what it has to do with the main plot. Or they talk about, I skipped Under the Hood or whatever. And again, totally fair, at least for the interstitials, or the back matter, sorry, because they're not sequentials, right? And you don't really need it to get into the characters. It just sort of fleshes out the world. Except for it also fleshes out some of the characters.
Yeah, it does. And it's useful. It is useful for the story. It doesn't mean I like it. Because, like I said, I don't want people to think I don't like reading words. I like reading words. I love reading novels.
The other thing about that back matter, and I learned this through my research for this episode, is it's padding. Moore and Gibbons were given a page count, and they were told that they wouldn't get ads because they wanted it to kind of be a prestige thing. So at the back of the book, they would have 3 spare pages because comic writers, this is a secret, guys. Your average 22-page comics, really, there's about 18 pages of plot in there. So they had this 3 extra pages, and they weren't going to have letters until the 3rd issue. So Moore just typed up a quick thing and had Gibbons draw a couple pictures for it. And then they just kept doing it for the rest of the series. They just got in a habit of it. So make of that of what you will about a whole book that is based on that, because it's not as deep as it may seem in the original piece.
Yeah, I get the feeling the more that we look at comics like this, the more it really is, no, this person didn't do a really smart thing. It just accidentally ended up working. Nice.
No, it's really smart. Though.
Yes.
Or maybe it's not. Or maybe it's not.
In terms of the art for this, tell me your thoughts about the comic portion of this comic, which is, I mean, volume-wise, maybe more than half, but time-wise / reading-wise is much less than half.
Yeah. I'm a fan of Baker. It's going to sound ironic because I'm going to describe him as a perfectly good minimalist cartoonist, except for every panel here is overdrawn on purpose, I would say. No, I like his work. I like his character designs. I like how he draws, texture on everything. What about you? What do you think?
I don't like the look of a single character in this.
You don't like Cutie Boy?
He's fine, I guess, but I don't like how the characters are drawn. I don't like there's not enough contrast for you to really know what's happening for most of these panels. Some of them are really good. There's a full page panel near the end of an underwater burial. It's beautiful. Great use of light. Most of these panels, unfocused, busy. It's either unfocused or busy, or there's too many words to actually notice there's art in it. Of course, it has a 9-panel grid. My favorite. So that doesn't help. Yeah. What? I'm just naming all the things you like about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a problem with the amount of contrast or the amount of readability? Did that bother you?
It's hard to read. It's a hard book to read. There's no other way of putting it. But I think what is there is really good. If you really pay attention, if you look at each panel individually and you really suss out where he's putting pinks on the page, where he's putting extra lines, or there's sort of a gray tone every now and then. It looks kind of like the shading done by pencils. I think he really knows how to make a picture. Even if it's hard to tell what it is. I think it's looks
good abstract
great.
art.
I really like it. Yeah. It's graphic.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it other than as
Do you
graphic.
think it's hard to read on purpose? Or that's just how the style is?
It has to be, right?
It has to be hard to read on purpose?
Otherwise, why would he draw all this?
Have you ever met an artist?
Yeah, but so here's another part of this that will maybe fill listeners in on what's going on here. Between all of the comic chapters, there will be a character profile section, and it will show a big, logo from Tyler Moorehawk and credits, and then it will have a big double-page splash of a bunch of characters and then annotated character descriptions beside it. And most of these characters are irrelevant or don't actually appear in the book.
Does reading these character descriptions add anything to the story?
It builds the world. It truly builds what Dave Baker, the fictional guy, is trying to get at with his work, which in turn builds what the real writer Dave Baker is trying to say about what he loves about comics and kitsch and nerd media. I totally get why this wouldn't be up anybody's alley, but I love it. I love how creative and weird a lot of these characters are, even for characters that maybe appear on a panel or not at all, or go unnamed besides these character profiles.
Mm-hmm.
No, man. I mean, and part of it is just, it reminds me of when I was a kid, I used to doodle monsters on the margins of my page.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these guys look exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, like, I mean, like, I like that each of the comic portions are kind of like set up like an episode of the Mary Tyler Moorehawk show. You have the cold open, and then you have the intro sequence, which is where it introduces the characters and stuff, and that goes into the rest of the quote unquote episode. So that's cool. That's fun. That follows like the way that it's supposed to be. Question: are these pages that in the comic, are these meant to be the pages like at the very end of the book? The Dave Baker, who is not the Dave Baker who is the author, grabs a bunch of pages as he's going through a tunnel as the farmhouse above him collapses. This makes so much sense out of context. Is that what these pages are supposed to be? The ones that got sent back into the past?
As I understand it, everything that we are reading in Mary Tyler Moorehawk, here's something that's very death of the author. You yourself are a character through the act of reading Mary Tyler Moorehawk. You're a character in Mary Tyler Moorehawk. You're complicit to all the actions that happen in the book. Because in the last pages of the book, it is revealed that Dave Baker, the fictional journalist, has assembled lost pages from Dave Baker, the fictional artist/cartoonist, of a Mary Tyler Moorehawk comic that never went published, that he has sent backwards in time along with a number of his own writings on the work in order to try and solve the world, basically save the world.
Stop Dave Baker, the cartoon artist, from being a sad old man who didn't get anything, and instead being the Dave Baker who made this book, where he has a much better future, I presume.
Correct, yeah. Yes, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And give proper credit to Dave Baker, the fictional artist of Mary Tyler Moorehawk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a world where physical media does not exist anymore.
Where physical media is illegal, specifically. It does exist. Yeah. You can find it. Yeah. It's just illegal for you to access.
It's not explained why, which I guess it doesn't really matter. Like, when I was reading some of the magazine portions or whatever, I was like, I wonder how, this book must be pretty recent. Because, like, a lot of the things, like, it touches on seem like concerns that are, like, slightly relevant. Like the loss of physical media and stuff, with everything becoming more and more digital and more digitized and more, you don't really own anything, you're just subscribed to stuff. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well as the loss of scripted and unscripted, not unscripted, what would you call it? Of creative work.
Yeah.
And scripted work, specifically.
Serialized fiction.
In the books, they describe some of the last media available to people were reality TV shows, which sort of echoes our current media landscape, where in 2008 and 9 there was a big writer's strike, which meant every channel on TV was scrambling for product because they needed to fill time. So they just started airing a bunch of bad reality TV shows, which turns out are as popular, if not more popular, than scripted TV.
And
the book is kind of about that.
And even in the current day, people still love crappy reality shows. I swear to God, if I hear another person
YouTube channels and TikTok channels,
another person talk about freaking Love Island, I'm gonna like pitch myself out a window. And like, yeah, so like I think it's in that regard, a lot of this is pretty relevant. Didn't make my reading experience better, but at least it's like, made me think about some things. I'm like, oh yeah, I think that sometimes. I get you, man. Yeah. And then I flip the page, and I've got 7 more pages of a magazine to read before I can get back to the comic.
When are we going to get to the fireworks factory?
But the thing, it sucked, because then I would be like, I want to get back to the comic, and I get back to the comic, and I'd be like, right, I don't like reading the comic portion either. And then I get to like the last 2 chapters, which is like an actual story, and I'm like, I like this. Why is it only the last like 20 pages of the book? And
why isn't it all like this?
Because this wasn't made for me. This was made specifically for Jack.
Unfortunately, it was made for me.
Yeah. I have written in my notes here, what is the point of the comic in this comic? What do you think?
Oh, it's like about the insurmountable power of the human will or whatever. It's like really, really simple, bare bones hero's journey style storytelling. But in the world of Mary Tyler Moorehawk, in the world of writers Dave Baker's, that is incredibly profound, because that doesn't exist. And maybe this is me getting on my high horse about this book, but in a world where most shows are like gritty subversions about anti-heroes like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Sex and the City, The Sopranos, that's also kind of poignant in our world too.
Mm-hmm.
Even Watchmen, right? Watchmen is a gritty subversion of superheroes, and then all superhero comics became gritty subversions of superheroes.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, while I was reading this, I was like, it is the most derivative story on purpose, right?
Of course. Yeah. Yes, of course.
Which makes sense in the context, as in, this was Mary Tyler Moorehawk was a show made in a world where people literally don't know how to watch a TV show that is like a serialized fiction. So it makes sense that something that is the most, in our time, simple, overdone, we've seen this a million times, story would be like, wow, amazing, it's so weird and so out there, kind of thing. But as people reading it, in like reading this book in the year 2026, does the concept of it make up for the fact that it is the most basic thing ever? Do we have to view this as conceptual art? Be like, yes, the idea of it makes up for the fact that I am looking at something that I don't even know if I can call art. It's just a thing. Greatly simplified.
Let me answer your question with a roundabout answer and multiple other questions, and maybe also answer why maybe it's a bad thing that I like this book as much as I do. Recently I came across a thing, and I'm going to butcher it because I couldn't find it after I came across it, but I thought it was brilliant. And it's the 3 questions that people ask in the world. A genius will ask, how is it made? Or how does this work? Right? A regular person will ask, what if something was different? A dumb person will ask, hey, do you remember this? And I am the king of, hey, do you remember this? And Dave Baker is also the king of, hey, do you remember this? And maybe that's indicative of a problem of pop culture and like nostalgia and like nostalgia baiting or whatever. That being said, it's so dense and so overwritten and so flowery and so up its own butt that it can't be that, right? Maybe I'm coping.
I was like, are you trying to cope? Are you trying to cope because you feel like this is like for you specifically, and if you don't like any part of it, you're gonna like lose your sense of self and your sense of artistic self? Is this giving you an existential crisis?
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. I'm not the only guy saying this. Other way more smarter people than me are also saying this about this book. People are comparing this book to Infinite Jest, one of the greatest American novels of all time that I haven't read, but is like 1,000 pages long and is mentioned in academia all the time. I mean, I'm comparing it to Watchmen, and I'm not alone in that.
Yeah, you know what like academics really love to do? They love to like find a thing that they really love and think is like super cool, and they're like, hey, this is great. And the people who don't think it's great are like, well, I guess I have to think it's great because everyone loves this. I can't be the only person who doesn't like Mouse.
I mean, see, Diane, that's why you're on this show.
So I can piss everybody off with my cringe opinions?
No, it's to keep me from going up my own ass. Yeah. I don't know. Like, you're right. You're completely right. Sometimes, here's another cliche saying, the young person tries to destroy the canon, the old man tries to safeguard it or defend it. You know, there was a time where I thought Citizen Kane was bad. I was wrong. Right? I thought Citizen Kane was a boring, overrated movie, and then I watched it.
I'm sorry, you thought you had an opinion on this movie before you saw it? I mean...
Of course, because I was young and naive and stupid, and I was trying to attack the canon.
Everybody thinks Citizen Kane is the best movie ever. I'm gonna be cool and think it sucks. And then you went and like did film studies, and then you watched it, and you were like, yes, I really like this.
I watched it right before I went into film studies, and it was like, oh.
and thus you belonged in film studies.
Correct.
Yeah. Maybe that's like the litmus test for film studies people. If you like Citizen Kane, good, you're in the right place. If you don't, go take something else.
Yeah. But like, so I don't know. Does that answer what you said? I don't even know what I was getting at there.
What was I? What the question I asked? Oh yeah.
Dumb guys ask, remember this.
And yeah, because what I think is, okay, so recently I watched a lot of, the TV show The Venture Bros?
Yes, love The Venture Bros.
Love The Venture Bros. Recently I was watching a bunch of it, and I was like, because it does the parody of Johnny Quest, like,
as well as most of pulp pop
yeah,
fiction,
yeah.
right? Like,
but like the main character in the Venture Bros, Rusty Venture, is like a grown-up kid adventurer. So like if Mary Tyler Moorehawk became an adult and was jaded and had a shitty childhood because they were doing the kid adventurer stuff. And I really like the Venture Bros, and I watched a bunch of it recently. And then like reading this, I was like, this comic, the Mary Tyler Moorhouse comic portion of this, functions as something within the narrative of this book. On its own as a comic, does it have value? Does it say anything? Like, that's why I was like, what is the point of the comic in this comic? If you take just the comic, which I mean, like, yeah, whatever, stupid idea to take a portion of a work out of context. But it's like, this comic is just then window dressing for the rest of the book. And that kind of annoys me. Because I'm like,
I don't know, man.
Why would you do that?
I would read a full comic about the guy with dogs for hands.
Yeah, fair. Of course you would. I don't know. Like, none of the characters, like, in this comic are interesting. They're like, you never learn that much about them because not much of this book is put towards these characters. So it's like, okay, then what's the value of reading this? What's the value of it being here? What's the value of taking all the time to draw this? Do you think?
No,
Yeah.
I really did. I started to care about Mary Tyler Moorehawk and Cutie Boy and Meredith. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are decently written characters. Not amazing, but like, they have interpersonal dynamics. They're not always nice to each other. They go through actual trials and tribulations.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Tyler Moorehawk has lots of self-doubt that you have to read into the book to get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there's some value in the sequentials and the characters there.
Yeah.
It's not the main thing, though.
No. Is her hair supposed to look like Mickey ears on purpose?
I think so. I think it's a reference to Mickey Mouse.
I hope so, because I'm like, if that's on accident, I don't know how. Okay, so at least that part got through. That must be a reference. Well, I mean, that must be a reference. Of course it is. But yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's like in theory, a lot of this would be awesome. In theory, it's a good concept, but in practice, it didn't connect to me on any level.
Zero engagement on your end.
I mean, like, I read the whole thing, and like when I started reading it, I hated it more than when I ended. So at least there was like some positive went up, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if it was just like apathy for having to read the whole thing. And apathy is less of a negative emotion than outright dislike. Or the fact that the part that near the end was the part I liked the most. Maybe it's just I don't like the way that he writes like the the last little bit. It's like he's writing like a story, like actual fiction. Maybe I just really don't like the way he writes magazine parts. Because they're so pretentious.
Yeah, you really do have to get on board. You need to get on board with the fact that you're not reading comics all the time, and that you have to read like articles, but also you have to get on board with the fact that they're like set in a weird fictional dystopia in the future where like rules are being explained as they come up.
Which I don't dislike. Yeah. Anyway.
No, you don't dislike it?
I don't dislike that. Yeah. Anyways, finish your thought, and then I'll explain why I don't dislike that concept.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really late into the book, they describe how corporations have taken over like whole states and countries, which like probably would have been something that would have come up earlier. But like, I don't know, in the real world, I don't know. I guess we live in a weird time though, where you turn on any device and you see the guy with the bad hair on TV all the time. But like, I don't know. I thought that was neat. I thought how that was incorporated was cool.
Mm-hmm. So like, for context, one of my favorite novels is the Margaret Atwood book, Oryx and Crake. Ever read it?
No.
So very, very broadly, very basically, there's a main character, whatever, and the setting of the world is a future. I don't think it's a near future, but like it does a similar thing to this, where like words are just different and they don't explain it, and they just like lore drops like this is a company that exists, and it's like a lot of things in here, it's got like a relatively the name that's kind of like a pun, or it's like pretty self-descriptive of what it is based on the word. And It's like a dystopia. This book here focuses, like the Mary Tyler Moorehawk focuses on like technology corporation side. In Orcs and Crake, it focuses a lot on like genetic stuff and like hard science. And so the storytelling in that book is relatively similar to the storytelling in the magazine portions here, where it doesn't really explain. It's relatively naturalistic world building by just like mentioning things, and you get how it works by just continuing to read. Why do I like that book, but I don't like this one? I had some thoughts. I am a big fan of very morally gray main characters, which is the entire thing of Orcs and Crake in that series of books. In this book, I don't freaking know who the main character is. Bro tells me nothing. He's like, my uncle likes comics, and then I got obsessed with this show, and I made that my journey. I don't know anything about his personality. He's just a dude. Which I guess, hey, maybe that's the point. For every guy who likes comics who's reading this can be like, oh my god, that's me. That's so me. I would totally do this.
He's literally me.
He's literally me.
He's literally
me. I would
me.
do that for insert piece of fiction that they like, which fair enough. I have pieces of fiction that I am insane about. We know it because every episode I name drop Backy the Grappler because that's my personality. Woo, I did it this episode too. Yeah, I'm insane about fictional things. I don't feel any connection to this guy. I feel sad for him. Is that the point? Am I supposed to feel sad for this guy? He's got no life? You don't want to say yes because this is you.
I don't think you're wrong. I think he's saying something about nerd culture and being obsessive.
Yeah. But like, hey, but the thing is, if they're a nerd culture dude is reading this book, he's going to be like, oh my god, that's so me. I'm vindicated because I too would go to the ends of the earth for my insert favorite creator, and I too would almost die to like help fulfill his legacy. Maybe don't. Maybe reflect on how much you are into culture, pop culture, maybe? Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think the thing is, you're totally right. You're 100% right. Also, if you're an obsessive, go outside and touch grass.
Please.
We've said this before on the show. But Baker proposes you have two options in his world. You either get in line with the corporation and you're like a wage slave, I guess, or you're this, right?
Ugh, rip.
And when it comes to, again, if we are to live in a capitalist hellhole where consumption is the only thing that matters, I would rather consume things made by people that I like, and the stuff that I like, than having to work for people that I don't. And that's what this book is about, right? Like, it's about the pursuit of art and upholding art, even through consumption capitalist culture.
Yeah, I guess we haven't talked about that at all. Yeah, let's talk about that. The point of the book.
Yeah, truly, I feel that way. I'm so paranoid that, like, I think in the US they're going to try and make porn illegal.
Cringe.
Which is why, if you've been in my office, like Diane has, you can see my shelf of porno comics. Because I think that they're going to try and ban selling that. And I want to preserve it, even if I realize a lot of that stuff is not good.
No.
Like, I've got some manga in there that sucks, right? It's not good.
Yeah.
But, like, it's rare, and I think it's going to go away.
Yeah, I recently came into ownership of a very rare and pretty shitty, but very important piece of literature that is just a porn comic. Did you know there's one volume of Backy, which is literally just, like, the main character claps cheeks for, like, one volume?
Hell yeah.
Anyways, I managed to find that volume, and it was $6, and it's obviously the original Japanese because that was never translated into English.
Because they're never going to publish that
No,
over here. Yeah.
It's hilarious. It's it's less erotic than the normal fighting in Backy. It's hilarious. Maybe it's because it's not homoerotic. That it's like feels weird.
He's not good at drawing heterosexual sex.
Oh my god,
What?
it's so funny. It's literally the funniest thing I've ever owned. It's great. I'm so happy I have it. But yeah, anyways, very important. Let's get back on track.
Anyway, that's just one example. I feel that about all sorts of crappy comics, though, right? I've got a box of underground alternative comics published in the 80s and 90s by guys who are not artists that are really bad at drawing, like worse than Dave Baker.
You think Dave Baker is bad at drawing?
No, well, I do. I'm mocking you.
Rude.
And I love those.
Yeah.
I love them to death. I love Watchmen, which... Sorry, it's not called Watchmen. It's called New York Protectors, which is like a bad take on Watchmen. It's like really dumb and poorly drawn, and I love it. Anyway, I got a full box of that stuff. I've got Charlton romance comics from the 60s, which are all the same plot. They all end exactly the same, but they're drawn beautifully. And I try and find them whenever they're in a dollar bin. I'll eat those up like a ravenous animal. Is there value in being an archaeologist of culture? Like...
Yeah, because if people don't like save media, it can become lost media. And you've probably heard lots of people talk about lost media that is probably never going to get found again. And yeah, it's horrifying thought to think that something that exists might cease to exist, and it will be forgotten forever. And it's like it never existed. So what was the point? That's an existential crisis I have all the time when I think about death. The actual death of an artist.
Didn't you literally wrote a graphic novel?
I wrote a graphic novel about that because I give myself that existential crisis like once a week. That's what happens when you have too much time to think at work.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's a horrifying thought to me. So I love the idea of archiving like art and everything. I live in fear of the day I die and all of the stuff that is in my head that never got into the page is just gone. Now what? Does it have any value? Because it doesn't exist anywhere?
You need a journalist with a time machine to send it back in time and
yeah, I need
save your work.
I need every thought I've ever had and every picture I've ever thought of to exist, because if it doesn't come into the real world and someone else has witnessed it, did it exist? Is there a point to it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then on the other hand, I look at like one of the parts about reading this that like did the whole thing for me. Oh my gosh, I do that, which wasn't much about this. But there's a part near the end when it's Dave Baker, the journalist, talking to Dave Baker, the old man artist who made Mary Tyler Moorehawk. And he's all like, the journalist guy's like, well, why you have all these comics of Mary Tyler Moorehawk that you've drawn. Why not publish them? Like, why didn't you publish it? And then Dave Baker replies, I never needed to publish it. It exists. I made it. And like, yeah, there's so much art that gets created that no one else is ever going to see. 95% of the art I make never gets laid eyes on by another person. And an even higher percent of that is never going to get seen by more than like 5 people, or the very few people on social media who know I exist and I post it somewhere whack. Yeah, because to an artist, or at least like, I won't say all artists, but to me, it's the act of creating that is the most important part. And other people interacting with it is nice, but it's secondary. I find fulfillment in creating art. And if no one else sees it, well, at least I still created it, and so I'm still happy. That's the part of this that I liked, this one sentence.
And that is a huge revelation in the book. And it's profound, and it's true.
And then Dave Baker, the journalist, over the next few pages of this, starts being like, oh, I've met my hero. He's kind of a sad old man, isn't he? Yeah, never meet your heroes, my guy. And I'm just like, oh, don't be mean. He's an artist. What would you know, you freaking journalist? You don't make art. You just bother people.
And in that moment, the author dies, truly, in the book. Yeah. And then he dies for real.
And then he dies for real.
Yeah.
So look, I found value in this book. I liked some of it. Gotcha.
So even okay, well, there we go. I'll take that. I'll take that.
I mean, also, okay, there's a lot of other things I thought about this. There's a lot of lore building, like with all the information you learn in the magazine portions, where it talks about a bunch of people who were involved with the production studio of the Mary Tyler Moorehawk show. And like, yeah, lore building is important. Does the lore building matter at all in this?
Like in what part? The comic part?
Well,
or the
magazine part. It's like, oh, there's this person, and here's the backstory of the lady who started the production company that Mary Tyler Moorehawk was made by. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's important.
Explain.
Because it shows how a system corrupts and appropriates art. And even though it's in a weird sci-fi setting, it's not that different from what happens in the now.
Yeah.
Like, Dave Baker's story is not unlike Alan Moore's story, which is not unlike Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby's story, which is not unlike Joe Simon and Joel Shuster's story, which is not unlike, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, the role of the author, artist rights, has been hotly debated in all forms of media forever. But in comics, it's probably the worst because
Mhm.
you're not paid well for a lot of work. And then on top of that, sometimes you don't get proper credit. Sometimes you don't have the right to work on it, even though you're the guy who does all the
Mhm.
labor. And that's what all of that is about. It just heightens it to a sci-fi futuristic place.
So again, it is useful to the point of the comic. In theory, it makes the comic, like the story, stronger, and it's like the comic portion of this where you're like, in theory it makes sense and it's useful to the whole of the book, but the act of actually engaging with it and reading the words on the page is like
there's too many words.
No, I don't have too many words. It's the words themselves are annoying. Why do they have to be written like that? Like the main problem with this to me is like, no, the conceptual nature of it does not make up for the lack of the formal elements. To me, like, yes, all of the aspects of this do make a point, and they do help, like, conceptually tell the story. But the act of the reader, in this case specifically me, interacting with each of these elements, the elements are, I don't, quote unquote, not good enough. I don't want to say that, but like they don't work to tell the story, which is
he's too lofty
or too obtuse
with his
or
goals.
too obtuse. Yeah, and it's like which is a problem I do have in general with just like the concept of conceptual art, because you can have a great idea, but a lot of times for conceptual art, just the way in which it is communicated formally often does not make up for like the lack of artistic merit of the project, and that's kind of annoying. So many projects I did and witnessed in art that it's like there's this great idea and you learn so much about an idea behind something and you're like, yeah, awesome, and then you look at the piece of art and it's a black square.
Or it's a comic by Jack Stewardson, maybe?
No, I never felt that about your comics. Your comics have such like a visual flair to them, and you like feel the love for the artistic practice and the essence of comics, that I never get the feeling that the concept is more important than the art. And maybe that's just how I like art. And of course, like I don't. On the flip side, it could be all like annoying and be like, oh, I don't like things where it's just about the aesthetics and there's no point, and you're just like, hey, what's the point of the art piece? And it's like, I don't know, I think it looks cool. Like, yeah, sure, but like I want art to say something. I want it to mean something. And so for me, there's like a Venn diagram where in the middle there's the conceptual and the formal, and it's where they meet in the middle, and it's actually like works. And like a lot of comics do that, and a lot of comics don't say anything of merit ever. We've gone over some of those, I think. And I mean, for example, like last week we talked about Hellsing. Does that comic really say anything about anything? Barely. No. It wasn't just art looks cool, but like it's almost riding
right?
the line of it's almost vapid enough that it's not worth it, which is like the other work by the Hellsing author, the current one, that's what that one feels like to me, where it's like it's still the Hellsing author's artwork, which looks great, but it's literally the story is so nothing that it's not worthwhile to even read it. So yeah, anyways, TLDR, the concept of Mary Tyler Moorehawk, the graphic novel, is excellent in my mind. In practice and formally, it just don't work for me. And I guess it works for a lot of people. It works for you. You love this, and that's great. Sorry I had to be so negative for like an hour.
No, don't get me wrong. I think your opinion is valuable, especially because I don't think a lot of people have read this book other than like people in comics criticism circles, which I guess you also are in. Sorry.
Yeah, no. But like, I'll just like people in comic criticism circles like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. A specific type. I don't know. Maybe I don't care enough about Western comics to like this. I don't know, man. Is that the disconnect? Is the disconnect? Is the
Maybe.
disconnect? I'm a girl.
I thought about that too,
Yeah.
because you were talking about how you like Margaret Atwood's writing.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle to connect with Margaret Atwood. I love her poetry. I don't really like her prose. I don't like her fiction so much. And I do wonder if that's because I'm a man. Maybe I also read it maybe a little too old and cynically. I don't know.
I mean, what I'll say is I tried to make my dad read Orcs and Crake, and he like hated it. He read like the first 2 chapters, but that's because he likes he likes female main characters and also morally good main characters, so Orcs and Crake would be the worst book for him. The reason I own Orcs and Crake is because I was given it to me by a friend who was like, I don't like this. And they're non-binary, so like that doesn't help this either. So who knows?
And like, listen, also, I like shoujo manga. That's like one of my favorite genres, right? And that's for girls. So like, I don't know. The gender thing is interesting.
Yeah.
The main character. The character on the front of the cover is a girl. So I find that interesting also that you don't connect with. Most of the comics characters are female, are assigned female, other than like Cutie Boy, which is a subversion of like male masculine characters.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I didn't connect to any of the comic characters because I didn't like any of them and I thought they weren't fleshed out at all. The fact that they were female characters barely like resonates because like
it's not enough.
There's just nothing about like even if the main character was a boy, I'd still be like, if it was the exact same character, but it was Marvin Tyler Moorehawk, I'd be like, yeah, this is just Johnny Quest. It still is.
Yeah, it is kind of just girl. It is just kind of girl Johnny Quest. And no, she has some existentialism. No, I'm gonna go against that.
What, you don't think sad? You don't think a boy could be sad?
Okay, but Johnny Quest isn't sad because he doesn't have a mom, right?
Yeah.
And Mary Tyler Moorehawk is sad that she doesn't have a mom and she doesn't like her stepmom until she realizes that she always liked her stepmom.
And is she afforded those attributes because she's girl character?
No, I think she's afforded those attributes because she's a kid.
As is Johnny Quest.
That's how kids act. Well, yeah, but Johnny Quest doesn't act like how any kid acts in the real
because
world.
that was written by adults who, I guess, forgot what children wanted. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to be the person who's like, it feels kind of like the token they're all women characters. I don't want to be that person, but like, doesn't add anything.
I don't know.
Doesn't it take
that's
add
also
anything?
fair.
Doesn't detract, like whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like whatever. The thing that bothers me more is I don't like looking at any of the characters. I just don't like the art style.
You don't like the art.
No. And like I always talk about how I don't like the realism in a lot of Western comics. So I'm like, wow, what a hypocrite. I don't like the non-realism in this comic. Wow. I'm too picky.
Yeah, everybody's turning into Akira in these pages, and that's either going to turn you on or off.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel bad that I don't like this comic. I feel like
don't feel bad.
Because I'm like, yeah, conceptually, a lot of it is cool. I like the idea. I would like the idea of this comic more than I like the actual physical product here, which makes me kind of sad.
There's plenty of stuff that I feel that way about, though. So like, no big deal.
Yeah, but you like this comic, so that's good. I'm glad that you had this idea to do this comic for this series, and then you read it, and then you really liked it. So you actually this series forced you to read a thing that you really like, that you now really like. That's great. You found something you super like. Awesome.
I mean, I'm more glad that it actually ties in with Watchmen, and I'm not a huge liar.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it ties into Watchmen. It does a lot of things that Watchmen does. It does the things in Watchmen that I don't like about Watchmen. Oops. Great. It took the things I don't like about Watchmen and just made them more
and then made a big book about it.
Yeah. But I mean, it could have been worse. Like, no, it did the thing I don't like about. It did the thing I don't like about Watchmen. When none of it, I don't like all the characters suck. I don't like them. It just made them more boring.
They're more nice and therefore they're worse.
No,
It's so funny.
No, they're more bland. I think a lot
bland.
I think a lot of characters in Watchmen are bland, and I don't care about them. And these characters are even more bland, and I don't care about them.
That's so funny.
We're gonna have like a literal physical fight when we talk about Watchmen. I can't wait.
The Watchmen episode will be epic. It will be something else. I don't know. Did we touch on anything else? We kind of touched on, is nostalgia a good or bad thing? I don't know.
I mean, like all things, it's good as long as you don't become insane about it. Have some like moderation.
Yeah.
Nostalgia's good. You can't exist without nostalgia. Everything has existed in the past. Every memory you have is nostalgic because it exists in the past. Everything that has ever happened, except for the things that are happening in the exact second they are, is the past. And so if you don't have nostalgia for the past, then what's the point of everything that's come before you? Nostalgia good. As long as you don't become insane about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
In its original term, as I understand it, nostalgia, it was like a diagnosis. It was like a psychological diagnosis. This is like
funny.
in like ancient history where people would like go to war and then they would get homesick and then they would have to be sent back home because they were feeling nostalgic. It was like a disease.
That's really funny. I love that.
And while I do think I do think nostalgia is also a disease in the real world, the way that it's used here, I love it. I love it.
You like how nostalgic this feels and how much nostalgic elements it includes, and you're like, oh my god, these are my things.
Yeah,
I like them.
I like my stuff.
It's
all my friends, my stuff.
And to me, I like the use of nostalgia in this, as it tells me, yeah, don't devote your entire life to a show you saw when you were a child and it made you feel a thing, and connect with your uncle. Have friends, get hobbies.
Or hang out with your uncle, right? Like, surely you connect with him on more than just that.
And like, diversify your interests so you do not become so singularly focused on one thing, because that sounds like a recipe for disaster. I mean, it made journalist Dave Baker write a book, I guess, and like travel in time and save.
Travel in time, save the world.
He saved. Did he save the world, or did he just save Dave Baker? Which to Dave Baker would be the world.
I mean, up to reader interpretation, I think.
Is it implied that these pages and stuff going back into the past stop the world from being a dystopia where physical media is outlawed? Are you trying to say that? Is that how important Dave Baker thinks his work is?
I mean, that's my poptimism. That's my hope of what the message of the story is. I think someone could make, I don't know, maybe they contradict this thinking back, but I think someone could make the argument that Dave Baker, the writer, is Dave Baker, the cartoonist. And when he's sent back in time, he just goes back and creates Mary Tyler Moorehawk, the show. But I think that's contradicted in the text. I don't know that I would, I don't know that I subscribe to that fully.
No. I think you also, not only did you con me into not reading a comic, you also conned me into reading an autobio comic.
Yes, but it's one that you're a character in.
No, I am not a character in this. Are you kidding me? I am a person who is begrudgingly sat down at a hair salon, and I have to read one of the magazines there as I wait 2 hours for them to give me a trim. Okay, but no.
And they only got highlights?
Yeah.
They only got highlights?
No, tell me
and Mary
this.
Tyler Moorehawk.
Tell me this. How do you interpret that you, the reader, are a character in this? Because I didn't feel that at all.
Through the act of reading it, you are saving Dave Baker's work. You are doing the actions that Dave Baker wants. It's like future Panel Pals subject, the monster at the end of this book. You ever read Monster at the End of this book?
No.
Oh man. I can't wait.
Am I gonna have a good time or a bad time? I don't know.
I think you will find it delightful.
Amazing. Can't wait. I mean, like, no, I feel like reading this book is the experience of reading anything. You are reading a thing, you are consuming it, it is now part of you, and you have on some ways connected to the author and its work, and that's what every book is. I think if this guy thinks that me reading his book made me a character in his book, and this book is more important than any book ever, my dude, no. Because it does kind of say some stuff in the introduction, like, that is, like, really he's all like, oh, this book is like a labyrinth. Oh, it's so complex. Oh, that
He is
stuff.
very flowery about his own writing.
Yeah, no, that was like, I'm sorry, my guy. I don't feel it. And I don't want to say that he's not a good artist or a good writer or anything. There are merits in this book, and I feel like I've been maybe too negative just because I don't like the whole of it. Or maybe I just don't like things that are slightly pretentious, because it pisses me off.
Slightly.
Okay, yes, no, this is quite pretentious, and I think one of the
even
reasons
I would admit this is so pretentious.
and that might bother me specifically because I don't like the idea of comics becoming a pretentious art form because I detest how pretentious a lot of quote unquote high art is. I hate the distinction between high and low art. But so many
Yes.
artists who work in the historically quote unquote high art are so pretentious about this stuff. Have you ever met a performance artist?
No, and I hope I never do.
I know. I had a prof who was a performance artist, and that's all I can say. And so, to me, comics are a form of art that are so human because you can create this thing maybe even outside of the confines of what defines other art forms. And you can make it so personal. It can look like anything. It could be whatever. It's so unacademic, and just it being pulled into pretentious like settings. It's like, stop, you're doing the thing that you shouldn't be doing. You're taking the humanity out of it, and you're taking the joy and the individuality and trying to make it a thing that pleases other people who just sit there with their like nose up being like, oh yes, this has value because of the concept of it, and it has a history. Ah yes, comics can now be good because they did a thing that we care about in high art circles. No, shut up.
I get what you're saying, and I've made that argument too.
Yeah.
I think comics belong. I mean, I've said comics belong in low art, and low art is good and actually better than high art. But just to counter argue, the book is also saying that. The book is also saying low art is good. We like low art. It is important. It is as important as, well, I guess high art doesn't exist in this universe, but
maybe then it's a good future.
Well, I guess there's that.
I wonder what happened to things like the Mona Lisa in that future. Did that get destroyed?
Maybe the Frankfurt School never existed or whatever.
That makes me sad. That would make me sad because I do like, even though I don't like a lot of historically high art stuff, the fact that it exists is very important to getting us exactly where we are right now, and the fact that comics can exist. Yeah, but you know, fun episode.
Jack had an existential crisis. Diane had an existential crisis.
It's fun because we have very different opinions of this. It's boring when we both think the same thing about a work. It's more fun when we can fight about it.
No, totally. Yeah. I totally agree.
So I'm glad you liked this.
What's that saying? It looked like you had a lot of fun up there.
No, that's me saying I would never want someone to dislike interacting with a piece of media. I'm glad you enjoyed this. So there was like some positive to come out of this reading experience. You connected with the thing.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you actually read it and you didn't just give up and say, no, this isn't for me.
I show up and I'm like, yeah, I read the first 4 pages. I have thoughts.
This stinks.
No, that would be a dick move. I'm not going to not read the thing. I don't want to give up. It's nice that it has an ending. It's finished.
It is finished, yes.
Yeah, it's a completed work, and it was evidently the author's vision, so I'm never going to take that away from him. Just didn't click with me. Yeah.
Would you read? You wouldn't read anything else by this guy. Are you going to read Shitty Watchmen? You should read Shitty Watchmen. It's pretty good.
That's funny. Yeah,
At least look at the first little bit.
Yeah, and I
just look at the first little bit. You don't have to read
and I know
the whole
you like the what was the other one?
Night Hunters. I love Night Hunters.
Yeah. So like, there's quality stuff. I don't know. Does his art always look like this? Is some of it more readable?
No, Night Hunters looks remarkably different than this. For one thing, it's sort of full color, but it does. Not everybody's turning into Acura in that one.
Not everything is just random lines in the background
Bumps
and pencils.
And mold and no.
Do people's facial features have a little bit more consistency?
No, everybody's ugly. Everybody's really ugly in that one.
That's not what I said. That is not how I phrased it. I don't think these characters are ugly. I just don't like how they're drawn, and there's no consistency. You know what? Whatever. Which is fine. I know how to read comics. I can tell which character is which most of the time. Whatever. But yeah, no, I'm glad you liked this. I'm glad you read a thing and you were like, oh my god, that's so me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
You can ponder that one. You can think on that one. You can give yourself some more existential crises.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks for listening. You can find me, Jack Stewartson, at Phantom Power Press on Bluesky and Pinksky, spelt with an F.
You can find me, Diane, on Instagram at @OneLittleGremlin. That's _little_gremlin.
If you'd like to follow the show, you can do so on Bluesky and Pinksky at panelpalspodcast. All of our links are in the show notes. Please rate and review on your podcast provider of choice. Panel Pals is a Jack Stewartson, Diane Hitchings co-production with editing by Jack Stewartson. Our musical theme is found by Stemchamp.